Item 1, apologies. Now, do we have any apologies? No. Are we fully here, everybody? Oh, it doesn't matter. Dan's all right. Oh, okay. We'll just leave that in abeyance. So we'll move on to item 2, conflicts of interest. Any of those for minuting? No. All right. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. Minutes of the meeting of 21st of July, pages 6 to 18 on your agenda. Any alterations for accuracy? No? All right. I will move them, and Councillor Atkinson is quite happy to second them. All those, I'll put that we accept, we confirm the circulated minutes of July the 21st as a true and accurate record. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, declare it carried. Matters arising. I thought there were some matters arising. What was I going to? Yes, there was. I think Councillor Williams. Maybe I'll leave it. Yeah. Martin Pinkham's name is spelt incorrectly. In fact, that's round the other way. Martin is I-N and Martin Cook is Y-N. Yes, just, there was something I was going to mention. No, it doesn't matter. All right. Okay. Matters arising? No matters arising apart from those spelling corrections. Item 4 is a presentation and deputation. Now we have Barry Cuttance from Oxford Promotion Association due to present us with an annual report, but he doesn't appear to have appeared. I presume he knows where to come. He does. Okay, well, we'll just leave that in abeyance. If Mr. Cuttance turns up, then we can slot him in somewhere, can't we? Right. So we'll just move on to item 5, which is the Audit New Zealand Interim Audit Report for the year June 30th, and Mr. Millward will take us through it. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is the interim report. The final reports will be presented after the audit and annual report has been adopted in October. So it'll come around about late November, probably to the December meeting for the final one. Basically, there were 3 areas that they found we could improve, and this one was, and it was around reconciliations around COVID time. They weren't done in a timely manner, which has been corrected. There was a review when a person terminates. We've got to be there, more timely in that in terms of taking off their access to systems and so forth. So that's been corrected. And there's the impairment of any assets, and the one that they identified was the Rangiora Service Centre building, which was around about 350, so it was, I forget the number, but it was not significant. We haven't impaired it. We'll be just expensing that value, and that's the bit we were fixing the marine mesh, the steel mesh, 663 steel mesh. So normally you would actually do an impairment, you'd write down the asset, and then when it's corrected you would revalue the asset back to where it was. In this instance we've just left it on the books. You would never notice it within the, it's a 2-month or 3-month action, which doesn't provide you any benefit at all. So that's the 3 that they've identified. There's some outstanding ones that you'll probably notice on the audit report which have yet to be signed off. The one in which is probably going to reappear is a note on vested assets. So once again we've found that we've got double counting in invested assets that goes back to 2014. That was a time when we transferred a lot of our assets across, and there was a fair bit of activity going through the accounts post-earthquake. And we double counted assets within the roading account and the drainage account, and that's been since corrected. I can't guarantee that we won't find more vested assets, but what we are finding doesn't have any significant effect on the accounts. I'm happy taking questions.
Councillor Atkinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just outside this report, if it rural and provincial, just some time ago, I can't even remember what that was, it seems like about 5 years ago, but I think it was only probably a couple of months. There was a suggestion from some of the other TAs that Audit had indicated to them that they don't have enough resource to do the end of the year audits on time, which is rather interesting, because that's one of the things they check councils on, is that they're on time, of course, and you get marked down if you're not, but they can't do it on time. Have we had any indication from Audit New Zealand that we are in that position, or are we still in the position which is favourable to us?
No, we're getting audited on time for ourselves, the parent, which is the council, but for ENC and Te Koahaka, they've been delayed, the audits, until November. So normally we would prepare theirs on a pretty finalised draft, because the associates need to be audited and adopted before the end of September normally. So we'll do the same, but we'll prepare the accounts based on their drafts. Because of the amount of turnover those two entities have, it doesn't have a significant effect on our accounts if, say, they have an error of 100,000. So we'll do that on that basis. Where we might get an effect is when they do an LTP audit, which is later on in December. But once again, because we've got an audit on our annual report, it shouldn't have too much of an effect, even if we were audited late. So no effects on our accounts at all. It's according to them, it's been an easy audit so far. Everything's up to date, and it should be ready for adoption early October.
So just clarification around that, the fact that Te Koahaka and Enterprise North Canterbury will be late audited by them, how does that tick the on-time box for us, given it's there? Is that stated in there? Because personally I think it's something that should be, and I just wonder if that's...
Yep, so there's legislation's given them exemption, so they won't get a tag on their accounts. They'll have to note that they've got an exemption, so it won't have any effect on our accounts at all. We'll once again we'll put a note in our accounts that they've been based on a draft under legislation that's been approved.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Redmond.
Thanks, Jeff. On page 51, an interest register for senior management. Is it proposed? Excuse me, I've been given something to chew. Is it proposed to have a register for senior management, and if so, when?
Yes, so that was discussed at the management team meeting 2 weeks ago, and senior managers have now required to put in their interests into a register, which I'm pretty sure just about every manager has done now, and there's a register that exists for that. And registering that you have no interests is just is registering an interest, and that's one of the things that I've put in personally, that I have no interest, but I have also gone further to state that I know what my property and other dealings have been throughout the district and memberships.
And finally, who will have
Councillor.
access to the register?
The only one that's got access to it at the moment is the chief executive and the executive assistants. I assume that it will probably go onto the management team agenda at some stage for viewing. and I'm not sure what the Chief Executive's what he's going to do. He might put that in front of the council as well, just as a matter of interest.
Thank you. No further questions, councillors. Councillor Atkinson moves A to D. Second, Councillor Williams. Oh, the Mayor. Councillor Williams. Discussion. Councillor Atkinson.
Look, just to say, well done again. It's good to see that we've acted quickly on the points that have been pointed out to us, and that we're obviously making good progress. This sets us up very well for the end of year audits. So well done to you and your team, Jeff, and we will await the final audit to see where we're at. So thank you.
Any further comment? No? All right, I'll put item 5.1. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare it carried. Thank you. Item 5.2 is health and safety audit results for June, and we welcome Katrina Blake, new safety and health and safety coordinator. Welcome.
Thank
Yeah. The long
you.
table.
Really far away, eh?
All right, if you could take us through the report, that would be great. Thank you.
Atamari, councillors, Madam Chair. Nice to see you again. So I would just like to introduce Katrina Blake. I think this is Katrina's first time at the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. So Katrina is our, if you don't know, Health and Safety Coordinator, and she was responsible for putting together the report and the audit findings as well. So she will be able to answer any technical questions that you have around the report findings or anything that's happened since then. So the report in front of you details the audits that were completed in June this year. They focused on asbestos handling and disposal, plant and equipment maintenance, and safe working in the field. Overall, the results were very pleasing for us. This is an internally produced audit that we complete to maintain compliance against not only our internal processes and procedures, but we also cross-reference them against WorkSafe guidelines. Katrina is qualified to complete these audits. She's fully trained in this area. And I'll take the rest of the report as read and open up for any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? You can speak at once. Councillor Doody.
Yes, thank you. I'm just interested in this asbestos handling and removal. Would you just like to just give me a little bit more of a heads up on how this works and how you handle? Yeah.
Definitely not handle it. So we have a component of our organisation, the water unit, that the ones that typically go out and do all of the asbestos handling when it comes to just pipe work. So they have a safe operating procedure that they use to do the types of work that they do with that pipe work, or however they might find it. So the audit was to step by step walk through that process as an observer with the team to ensure that they were adhering to everything that's required under the Health and Safety Act for asbestos management handling with the training that they've had. So it was seamless, so yeah.
It's good because, sorry, through Madam Chair, that was the question I was asking, was with the water units, finding these old types of pipes. So for removal of them, what is the process for doing that?
So they, if you go right back to the start, they have to go through a process to find out what other services are in there as well. So they do know that there's old pipe work in there, the AC pipes that contain asbestos, very low amount of asbestos, but if they are disturbed, they can allow portions and particles to go into the potable water. In saying that though, once it goes in there and it's wet, it's not really, it's not a concern to the public or anything like that, but we don't like it to go in there. So we do follow a process that when they change those pipes out, there's two types of ways that they do it. They can use chain cutters to cut that pipe, which it essentially is the most safest way to do it because it just cracks the pipe onto some whatever they're actually using to put underneath them, depending on the nature of the trench that they're in. and that captures the particles. So they crack it with the chain, and they just remove that piece of pipe, and then they sleeve it with a new AC pipe. So there's no leaks or anything like that. They leave them there if they're not damaged because they don't create an issue, but if they find a leak, then they only take the section that they need to take. It's all bagged and taken away properly.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councillor Atkinson?
Just around that, is there a disposal area in our district for asbestos? Because I don't think we do it, do we, at the refuge centres?
We have a disposal method down at the water unit where there's a proper bin and it's taken away by waste management. I believe Cape Valley has a proper area. Yeah, so once it's contained there, it's removed.
So is that open to residents, or is that just purely with
No.
our own internal?
It's our own, residents cannot drive in there, no. That's where basically our landfill and everything that's sorted goes to. Yeah.
So
and
all our
asbestos.
residents, sorry, I'm just thinking of the future is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. All our residents have to actually go to Christchurch to dispose of asbestos.
Yes, there are a couple
Okay.
of places in Christchurch that you can go
Yep.
to, but if they're not sure, they can ask at Southbrook. It's checked as they go on the gate, so you can't dump any there.
Thank you.
I just have a question myself. The graph that's on page 3 of 5, but plant and equipment maintenance,
Yep.
where you've got a 41% non-compliance, and the comment that some departments are currently working on establishing their new schedules to ensure all assets are maintained thoroughly and improvement in compliance. Is that snapshot that you've taken there, is that a concern overall?
No,
Just-
it's actually very good. Considering we've got some projects at the moment where our assets are being loaded through the AMOS project, so a lot of the non-compliant is because it's not quite there yet, so we can't say that it's compliant because we're not functioning with that system yet. But there's a lot of work going on with the assets, and they will be in an asset management system where all of the assets will have their own dates of when they need to be maintained, who they're maintained by, what legislative requirements and what manufacturers' specifications have to be followed. So it's in the works, and it's a lot better than what we've had coming through, say, up until now. So
And what time frame would you expect before?
I think they're past the testing phase, the water unit. I'm not sure. Jeff, if you can elaborate with that, but I think they're almost up and running. The only thing they're not putting on it is the pipes, because that's under YMAPs in a different area, but they are almost ready to hit the go button. Yeah.
So the next time
End of this month.
So when would you next look at doing this sort of review? Is it annual or is it more frequently?
I think they'd like it if it was annual, but I do it 6 monthly.
Okay.
So I'll probably look at doing it around October, because we will have things up and running by then, so it'll be good to do another snapshot. Probably won't be as robust, but just a snapshot of how that process is actually working and where our non-compliances are sitting, so we can hone in on that. A small portion of the non-compliance is with the PDU. They don't have a lot of equipment that needs to be maintained all the time, but what they do have, they don't have on a register, so I can't really go and make it a compliance if they're not checking it on an annual 6-month, 3-month basis. So they're working on that, but they only have a small portion of equipment that needs to be checked, and it's mainly around traffic management.
Cool. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, councillors? No? Well, I'm happy to move, and Councillor Atkinson is ecstatic and seconding. Any discussion, or I'll just say, yeah, welcome this update, and certainly would the one that struck me as, too much of that orange colour. I would certainly welcome an improvement next time you do it. Yes, I guess you can, Councillor Williams.
We move out some of our buildings because they're not up to the right standards, and we're renting some properties. are we checking to make sure they're at an adequate level of safety before we move staff into them?
Yes. Talking about building strength, adequate strength.
Yeah.
Yes. So are you talking about the temporary accommodation at the moment? So all of those buildings have been checked and they all come within the code that's required for them to be housed in. So yeah, they were checked before any of the staff went in them.
So that they're into the code that we require for our own building.
Correct.
An example of that was the main building here, where it was sitting at 40%, and we put in that 9-metre beam and locked it into the end of the western walls, and that took it above 67%. So we weren't putting the staff in there until that was fixed. So that's been now fixed, and that was the one we had the most concern over. Yeah.
Mr Mayor, and then Councillor Doody.
Just briefly, very good report, Katrina, and I'd like to officially welcome you in your new role.
Thank you.
And congratulate you on achieving that. And we very much look forward to working with you because it's a really important role within our council. We certainly had a really good relationship with Charlotte, and certainly appreciated working with her, and I'm sure will be the same with you. So we look forward to your regular updates here, and thanks for your first report.
Well, thank you very much for your kind words, and I've been happy to assist with filling the gap until the new health and safety manager arrives.
She's our coordinator.
I did
Perhaps in the future, Mayor, that would be something I would look into. But thank
Apologies,
you for your kind words.
I had assumed that you were in
Yes,
from the
she's
title.
the coordinator.
It said in the
She's our
title.
coordinator.
Yes.
Apologies.
Something I hope to aim to in the future.
Oh, dear me. Yes, well, my apologies also, because I thought you were.
It was a nice boost for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doody.
I'm just going to just say much the same as the Mayor, except I won't put my foot in it. But I'd just like to say, thank you very much for this report. It's excellent. Well done
Well,
indeed.
thank you.
Yes, and I'll probably come and might email you with one or two little things I just want to question at some stage.
Absolutely.
But I really appreciate the your report, and very detailed. So thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? No? It's been moved and seconded, so I'll put it. All those in favour, ATC, please say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you very much.
Kia ora.
Excellent
And
report.
if anyone would like to come and visit us, we are now in the
Love
Parkside Portacom. You're welcome to come over for a coffee.
Yes.
That is our new home. That's where you'll find us. Please
I
come.
will be there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right,
Have a
thank
good
you.
day.
We move on to item 5.3, which is the non-financial performance measures, pages 66 to 83, and welcome Helene. Thank you, Helene. If you would like to take us through your report.
Okay, so the report for the financial year ending 30 June 2020. So overall, what is that?
Turn your, I can't hear you. Oh, okay. You good?
So overall, the results were consistent with the previous year, which is quite pleasing considering a number of the measures were affected by the lockdown, mainly a number of meetings that weren't held, surveys that would have been conducted during the last quarter, and a number of official meetings that weren't held. So we could have been in excess of last year's result. So other than that, I'll take the report as read. And any questions?
Any questions, councillors? Councillor Redmond?
Thank you, Helene. Am I correct in assuming under the summary on page 84, where there were 3 areas of non-compliance or failure to meet targets, that those matters are really outside the council's control and were the result of COVID, lockdowns and other interruptions?
You're on the wrong one.
Oh, sorry.
You're on the wrong one.
Yeah.
Am I on the wrong report?
Yes,
I'm on page
you went
84 and
ahead.
We're not even near that.
We're behind you. We're on the
I'll withdraw that question, Helen.
all right. No, Paula's still there. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Atkinson moves and Councillor Williams seconds. Thank you. Councillor Atkinson.
Just thank you for this. I know it's been a very awkward time trying to get results from things that have been in lockdown or other things that have happened. So it's a very good result for what we have here, and we'll wait with bated breath once all the restrictions come off and see where we're at, which will probably be within a couple of days. So there we go. Or not.
Right. Councillor Williams, any? No? All right. No further discussion. I will put the report A to D. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you, Helene. And we move on to item 5.4, pages 84 to 128, and welcome Paul to the table for the financial report for the period ending June 30th. Thank you.
This report's presenting the preliminary result for the Council's finances for the year. Just noting Audit New Zealand's at the moment in the process for their final audit, and that is the bulk of the fieldwork's meant to be finished at the end of next week, so that the annual report can be adopted. Oh, Jeff, what's the date? Is it? Which date in October?
I thought it was the 4th.
4th. Yeah.
Could be the 7th.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'll have
Yeah.
that. It was on the previous
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
It's the 6th.
Not so. Bigger than yeah. So the surplus was 2.8 million against a budget of 20.5 million. Item 4.2 in the report explains the major reasons for that variance. The council's debt was at 160. External debt was at 160 million at the end of the year. That was against a budget of 185 million. Just to note, in the first 3 months of this financial year, we won't be raising any further external debt. And the capital program spend was 50.5 million. There's a further report coming to council, I believe, to give more detail on that. I might just quickly go through item 4.2, which has the explanation of the variances for the surplus. The major items are the interest rate swaps, accounting valuation. This is last 2 years in a row we've had this because we're locked into interest rate hedges. As the interest rates have been falling, that's meant we've had to do an accounting valuation adjustment at the end of the year, down. The development contribution revenue was under budget by 6.2 million. We've indicated that was going to happen right through the year. The NZTA subsidies were under revenue because the capital program was behind. We only get that as the capital was spent. And two items that are pretty much we have every year, which is the accounting for assets disposed as part of renewals work was 3 million, and the expenditure, which was budgeted as capital but needs to be accounted for as operating, which was 4.1 million. I'll take the rest of the report as read, and
Because there's no one reporting it, the 4.6 there is the confidential amount that we sorry? Oh, okay. Okay, I can't disclose that. It's sorry. I thought it was on the council underlying stream.
No, we will. So yeah.
Just-
Councillor Atkinson, questions, and then Councillor Redmond. This is the right one, Councillor Redmond.
Just under you, which is one of the most helpful pieces of measures we get here, which is the financial bit at the start, Paul. I just wonder, we're getting up to 10.8% unfavourable on operating costs. Is a fair bit of that due to the building and shifting people around, or is there another explanation for sort of 10.8%? I mean, I know there'll be COVID in there and things.
Again, on that, in that item 4.2, there's basically three of the items in there. So this is the accounting valuation adjustment of 5.5, the assets disposed for renewals, and the expenditure budget as capital, but which has to be accounted for as operating. Those three items come to about 12.6 million, and that's the difference. Yep.
Councillor Redmond.
Right, my question will come as no surprise, Paul. The three areas of non-compliance, my conclusion was that COVID and external factors were largely responsible for those. Is that a correct sort of conclusion?
Well, I suppose you could say COVID in that one of the reasons why the interest rates have dropped so dramatically is the response to the recession that's come as a result of COVID. The external factors, I suppose you could say the development contribution revenue is largely driven by how fast the developers are developing. So that's not an item we can really control very much. Yeah.
Is that satisfactory, Councillor Redmond?
Yes, Madam Chair, I think the external factors, COVID seems to be behind the economy, interest rates, development contribution. So, I mean, we don't really have any control over a lot of those areas.
I have a question about the you say we're having a report on the capital program which is underspent. In your note here in 4.2, the NZTA subsidies that attach with that capital works program, do we lose those if in fact we're underspent and don't use them within the 12 months?
NZTA work on a 3-year program, and this year was year 2 of that program.
Okay.
So if we can, that's why the roading budget for this year has remained higher as we and we've reduced some of the other budgets to try and complete some of that work that we've got been approved for subsidy.
Yes, I just also, I mean, I don't know whether it's part of your responsibilities, but if we are underspent to this degree, what is the likelihood that in year 3, I mean this is what we looked at earlier, that we are going to be able to use that or spend the capital we've said we're going to and get that full NZTA subsidy?
Jeff might want to answer a bit further, but when we set the budget this year, we did basically in the utilities and roading area, they have basically dropped the budgets in all 3 waters areas, and the only one that they've kept up is the roading one, so that there was going to be a concentration of the work on the roading program.
Yeah. Just one more question I just want to ask. That the data that we went into the annual plan with, which was we were underspent but we were going to have a good go at it in year 3, is where we are now reflecting the information correctly that we went into budget with?
Actually,
or we're behind?
Yeah, if you look at the report we had from March, the capital,
I haven't got it with
the forecast that we had at March, particularly for the roading area, where we ended up was pretty close to where the prediction was at March.
So we're on track.
Yeah, well, we were, given we're in the position that we thought we would be at June when we were
Okay.
forecasting at March. Yeah.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I was just going to confirm that what Paul was saying is correct. We carried that budget over from this year, or last year, into this year. That's pushed our capital works program up quite considerably.
Yep.
The subsidies from NZTA come through with that, so it's just a carryover of the two. There was a report provided to the council which showed what the completion rate would likely be for this year, and I think that was around about the mid-80s. And contrary to Audit New Zealand, and they've commented on the amount of work that councils complete in each year, we've already identified as about 15% that's just out of our control completely, but we have to put it in there to make sure we account for some of the development work. We're a little bit different to our council, which doesn't have a lot of growth. We still have a lot of growth, and we still are forecasting that we're going to have growth even with COVID in existence, just because of our circumstances. We've got the likelihood that we're going to grow in at least 500 new dwellings this year, which is contrary to a lot of other districts in their growth. So yes, we have got a large capital works program, but it's we've already forecasted that it will probably be around about 15% incomplete.
Thank you. Councillor Ward?
I just wanted to reconfirm or just ask, I think you've answered my question, Paul, that where everything has for this year been planned so that we achieve and get the completion within the 3 years. Is that correct? Well, especially with NZTA.
As I said before, the plan was to drop the budgets for 3 waters, so that's been a lot of work's been deferred in those areas, which frees up time, staff time to concentrate on the roading program.
Right, Councillor Doody?
I'm just looking at the District Council year-to-date revenue and expenditure, and I think perhaps Jeff's answered that one, is that you're waiting on that Land Transport New Zealand's subsidy to come through. Is that what that's showing? Because it's showing the red.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
We're showing that the capital works for roading weren't complete.
Yeah. Right.
So we didn't get the subsidies for that, and we didn't have to raise the loans for that work. So we've carried that forward into the current year.
Yeah, I thought that was the case, but I just want to double check on that. Thank you.
All right, any further questions? A mover? Who would like to move it? The Mayor would like to move it, I think. Yes, he would. And Councillor Ward would love to second it, I know. Thank you. Discussion, Mr Mayor. Councillor Ward.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any further comment? No? I'll just say that this is a challenging budget year we've put ourselves to, and I really don't want to see, and I think it has happened in the past where we have lost our NZTA subsidy because we didn't complete the capital works, and we don't want to be in that position again. I don't think it happens very often, but it certainly has happened. So we just need to keep our foot on the accelerator, because our staff have said they're going to achieve this challenging program, and we are there to make sure that happens. So thank you. I'll put this motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, declare it carried. Thank you. And we move on to item 6, which is portfolio updates, and we have Councillor Ward with Audit, Risk, Long-Term Plan and Excellence Program. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. quite a lot in the last 2 months. We've had several long-term plan meetings, just getting underway with those. Waimakariri Visitor Strategy Review workshops are ongoing. Stadium Project Group, which is coming along nicely and up to date. Also the Accommodation Refurbishment Group, I'm about to meet with Rob to look at colours and things as things get underway. 3 workshops, Waters Workshop in Christchurch and Kaipoi, COVID-19 Recovery Plan Workshop and DPNR meetings, joint ECAN meetings, Greater Christchurch Partnership 50-year reviews, joint promotions meetings, town centres lighting meetings, as well as the community boards, and then the Rangiora Airfield Advisory Group. Very happy to say that the designation for the airfield has been finally approved.
Excellent, Councillor Ward. Thank you for a comprehensive report. Any questions of Councillor Ward? No, I was thinking that myself. Thank you. 6.2 is communications and customer service, and we don't seem to have Councillor Barnett here. Is she? Oh, okay. Was it?
There's an apology for Councillor Barnett was sent through to this morning.
Oh,
so
okay.
She's all
Well,
day.
could we record? Yes, thank you. I'm happy to second. All those in favour, please say aye. Thank you. Yes, we didn't have that when we opened the meeting, but that's all good. All right. We'll move on then to item 7, which is questions. I have none. We haven't heard from Barry Cuttins, have we? No. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. Yeah. Well, it is Oxford after all. No, we'll move on to item 8, urgent general business. No urgent general business. So now we'll move over. Stop laughing. We'll move into committee for the, I think it's just the minutes actually. So I'll put that we move into public excluded to consider the minutes of the July the 21st meeting. I'll move it. Councillor Atkinson will second. All those in favour, please say aye. We'll move into